What's up, everybody? On today's show, Brent Venables hasn't even coached a game yet in the SEC, and yet Oklahoma giving him a contract extension already. Why? Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to every day. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. On today's show, we're going to talk about a new Brent Venables contract extension. We'll also talk some recruiting. There's a lot of big recruiting commitments happening the last couple of days around the conference. And we'll also talk about the epic Game 3 tonight in the College World Series. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, let's jump into it. As we heard the news come out on Friday that Brent Venables, the Oklahoma head coach, is getting a contract extension. And here are the details. A new 6-year contract for Coach Venables includes a significant raise and adds 2 additional seasons. So the new deal, it was approved by the Oklahoma Board of Regents on Friday. It will keep Venables in Norman through 2029 at least. And the deal has a total value of $51.6 million. Now, Venables is 53 years old. He will earn an average of more than $8.5 million annually. He had previously signed a 6-year, $43 million deal in December 2021. So, initial gloss on this is keeping up with the Joneses, right? Steve Sarkisian got a contract extension this offseason. Now, he made the playoffs. So Texas, seems to be, one leg up. But, of course, Venables and Oklahoma won head-to-head with Texas last year as well. So you also have the move coming into the SEC. But I saw a lot of people saying on Friday, like, what's the deal here? Why would you make this move? We'll get to that in just a second. But Venables is coming off of a 10-3 season, but 16-10 in 2 seasons at Oklahoma. He has secured a top 10 recruiting class this past year. He's currently got a top 10 recruiting class in 2025, so he's doing a good job there on that front. And let's be real, too. When he was at Clemson having all that success as an assistant defensive mind, he was a lot of folks reached out to him for a lot of jobs over the years, and he turned them down. He was very selective about taking a head coaching job. There were many jobs he could have had throughout the years. He waited and waited and waited for the right move, and he took Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, of course, coming into the SEC here in a couple of weeks, and they got a lot of good pieces back, particularly on defense. Their 2 leading defensive players, linebacker Danny Stutzman, safety Billy Bowman, and including Venables getting the raise, a couple of assistants also getting contract ups on Friday. Running backs coach DeMarco Murray and defensive ends coach Miguel Chavis each got raises and an additional year on their contracts. So that is good for them. But I was reading Tom Fornelli's piece over at CBS Sports, and he was saying, okay, wait a minute. So Venables 16-10 in 2 seasons, a mark of 10-8 in conference play. Those are mediocre numbers. And that's with Venables at the helm, and that's in the Big 12. And now you're coming over to the SEC. Why give him a raise now? And Fornelli basically says 2 things. One, Venables was in year 3 of a 6-year deal. And there's always that thing where, coaches and their agents, and the agents have the ADs by the balls when it comes to this kind of thing. They always say, oh, how can my guy recruit 4-year players if he's only got 3 years left? I mean, how's he going to guarantee to this kid sitting in mom and dad's living room that, he's going to be here in a couple of years? What if God forbid, those evil words, hot seat come up? And, it's the same thing that we're seeing some coaches go through right now. We're seeing Billy Napier in Florida struggling in recruiting right now because he is on the proverbial hot seat. And so this kind of takes care of that issue. Any concern from any recruit on, I don't know, is Coach Venables going to be there in a couple of years? This kind of takes care of that. So that's kind of the surface part of this, as Tom Fornelli explained. But he said the other part of this he said it's a far more demonstrative reason can be found when Oklahoma AD Joe Castiglione introduced Venables back in December 2021. He talked about developing one of the country's consistently best defenses and taking these guys and preparing them for the next level, which he did at Clemson. If you remember the end of the Lincoln Riley era, they were getting to the playoff every year, Heisman winning quarterbacks and all that. But what was OU missing? Well, that elite defensive play, particularly on the defensive line. Riley's teams reached the college football playoff in his first 3 seasons, but never won a game. And you go look at some of those losses: 54-48 double overtime loss to Georgia, 45-34 loss to Alabama, and the 63-28 loss to LSU. Give up too many points. They give up an average of 54 points allowed in those playoff losses. And so Oklahoma wanted to improve their defense where Lincoln Riley was lacking, and certainly Brent Venables has helped improve them in that category already. Now, the defensive line is really where they want to put the focus. At Clemson, Brent Venables developed 6 first-round picks on that Clemson D-line. So, as Fornelli says, when Castiglione announced the Venables hire, he made it clear that the Sooners were seeking a coach who could improve the team's defensive performance while developing NFL-caliber talent. Venables already improved the defensive numbers, and his first 3 recruiting classes, coupled with the track record, suggest the Sooners are well on their way to developing NFL talent on that side of the ball. So, yeah, look, it's, again, my initial reaction when I first saw it was like, maybe wait and see, like let him coach a game in the SEC first, and let's see if he, if he can be one of the better coaches in the SEC. And yeah, certainly give him a raise. But look, Oklahoma's got their standards, a lot like Texas. They're coming in, they want to be locked and loaded. They want to know we got our guy locked in, and that's that. But the only problem becomes, man, if Venables falls flat on his face, which I don't think he will, but if he were to, if they were to go say 6-6 this year, or God forbid, even 5-7, and Jackson Arnold, doesn't live up to hype, and just a lot of things go wrong for him. You're sitting there with a little bit of egg in your face, going, well, wait a minute, is this the right guy? Maybe we could have waited a year on that contract extension, let him go prove it. Even let's say he has a 8-4, 9-3 season this year. It's pretty good year one in the SEC, and I would think maybe you give him a contract extension then. I don't know. It feels a little bit like if this thing were to go sideways, you could end up paying a massive buyout down the road, a la Jimbo Fisher at A&M. They had full faith in him. They believed in him, and obviously that thing went sideways. Now, it wouldn't be that big of a buyout, but still, just saying for argument's sake, what's the point in waiting? I feel like a lot of times these ADs get bullied by the agents who say, pay my guy. Somebody might come calling. I even saw somebody said, look, as good of a coach Venables is, are a lot of teams going to be calling for him right now? If he has a great year next year and they keep getting better and his track record improves, yeah, absolutely. Somebody might come try to poach him, but it is kind of interesting too. I wonder how much the win over Texas last year kind of helped the case as well. Texas was celebrating a massively great year, and it was. Sark got them to the college football playoff, and it was a huge leap forward for the Longhorns. That said, OU had the game-winning touchdown late, and they won the Red River rivalry, and it's one that they have really kind of dominated. They won 5 of the last 6. Texas did flip fortune in Venables year 1. They won that one 49-0. And I remember a lot of people at the time saying, ooh, Venables, he cut out to be a head coach. Is this what's going to happen every year at Oklahoma? Kudos to them. They flipped it around. They beat Texas this past year. But, if that were to happen again down the road, it's just something to keep an eye on with Brent Venables. I mean, he's locked in now. OU is all in on him, and now they have to decide, what more resources does he need? We're taking care of your assistant coaches. We're giving you everything you need. You're recruiting at a high level. We got to develop this quarterback, and we got to get some wins. And so it's going to be something fascinating just to track as both Texas and OU make that transition into the SEC, and both with high expectations. If you've paid any attention to our YouTube commenters or social media, both fan bases are pretty confident in their teams that they're going to come in and have immediate success in the SEC. And look, both rosters are loaded with talent, so they should have faith in them. I would even argue, obviously different caliber programs, but OU and Texas are way more equipped to hit the ground running in the SEC, it feels like now, than A&M and Missouri were back in 2012. Now, both those teams had success. Obviously, Gary Pinkel in Missouri had pretty good success their first couple years in the SEC. And, of course, A&M, with Kevin Sumlin, they had the Johnny Manziel mania, winning Heisman, all that. And they didn't win any SEC West titles, but they competed. They were very good and went to some big-time bowl games and had a lot of success. But certainly Texas and OU feel like they're in a tier above those teams, obviously, and, expecting immediate success. We'll see if they can have it. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we're going to recap the weekend that was in recruiting around the SEC. That's coming your way here in just a sec. Well, first, I'll remind you guys, this episode is presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Look, we love sports. We love them so much, we never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we start to get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel, they're going to let you keep the sports going wherever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. All you got to do is head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. Of course, FanDuel, they are the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So if you want to get in on daily baseball bets, you can do that. And of course, some early college football lines up there for you. We told you a bunch of the week 1 lines already posted there at FanDuel. Georgia, a heavy favorite over Clemson. LSU, a slight favorite over USC. All those games and the action is up there for you if you want to get in it. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. If you've never signed up before, get signed up, take advantage, download the app, and you'll be off and running. One more time, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out as we got a lot more content coming your way. Some player interviews and much more over these next couple of weeks right here on Locked On SEC, counting you down to the start of another college football season. All right, we want to dive into it and start discussing some of the recruiting moves that happened the last couple of days. We did not hit on some of the ones that happened Thursday and Friday last week. And, of course, all weekend long, we had action going on. So let's jump into it. And we start with Auburn. They picked up a big-time recruit in their class of 2025 on Friday, earning a commitment from 4-star running back Alvin Henderson, who was originally committed to Penn State. He's an Alabama native, been committed to the Nittany Lions since April, and announced his commitment to the University of Auburn. He's the number 113 overall player and the number 8 running back in the country for the class of 2025. He's also the number 11 player from the state of Alabama. He's 5'9", 209 pounds or 200 pounds. Initially got a scholarship from Auburn, an offer back in March of 2022. Took a bunch of visits to campuses over the last year, had some offers from Alabama, Florida State, Miami, among others. And now he is in with the Auburn Tigers. So big get there for Hugh Freeze and company. And that puts Auburn, by my count, 16 commits in the class of 2025 and sitting up there in the top 10. And we'll see if Hugh Freeze can hang on to a top 10 recruiting class, but certainly is trending in that direction. Big pickups here these last couple weeks for Hugh Freeze and company, and kind of take advantage of talent in the state of Alabama, where, Kalen DeBoer is going through a little bit of a transition. Over at LSU, they picked up some commitments to their class. Got a commitment from 4-star edge LaJesse Harrold. Picked LSU over Florida and Texas A&M. Currently ranked as the number 120 overall player, the number 12 edge in the country for the class of 2025. He's the number 17 player from the state of Florida, 6'5", 215 pounds. And that puts LSU up to 13 commitments in the class of 2025. They're also in the top 10. They did pick up another piece on Thursday in 4-star offensive lineman Carius Curne. He was previously committed to Arkansas, from the state of Arkansas, but a big-time pickup for LSU. He's the number 109 player in this class, the number 11 offensive tackle, and he's the number 1 player from the state of Arkansas. So LSU, Brian Kelly, doing some work here these last couple of days, picking up some big-time additions. Over at Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz and company on Sunday, picking up a commitment from 3-star cornerback Mark Manfred, who posted on Twitter, 1,000% committed. He's 6'2", 175 pounds, rated the number 36 corner in this class, the number 38 recruit from the state of Georgia, and that puts Mizzou at 12 commitments for the class of 2025, joining running back Jamarian Morrow, wide receiver Sean Terry, quarterback Matt Zollers. They've got a lot of weapons in this group. And, so Morrow, Williams, Manfred, Terry, all these guys recently into this Missouri class. We'll see who else Eli Drinkwitz can add. Over at Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby having a really great weekend. Mississippi State picking up a bunch of commits. They picked up Jerron Johnson, a running back from the Tennessee area, rated a 3-star running back, and said, according to reports, that he's going to try to enroll early in the spring of 2025, wants to get a jump start on learning the offense and all that. So he's in the class of 2025, but wants to finish up school this fall and be an early enrollee. We'll see if he can. Mississippi State also picked up other commitments over the weekend, including athlete Davian Jackson from New Iberia, Louisiana, offensive lineman Mario Nash, and also wide receiver Ferzel Shepard from the Louisiana area. 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, huge leaping ability. 24/7 Sports and ESPN list him as a 4-star prospect. So he becomes the second wide receiver for Mississippi State in the class of 2025. So offensive weapons. We know Jeff Lebby likes his offense. He's got some offensive weapons he's adding to this class of 2025. Over at Arkansas, they picked up commitments from 3-star edge Trent Sellers out of the Mobile, Alabama area. And then they also picked up 3-star wide receiver Antonio Jordan. He had offers from Tennessee, South Carolina, and others. So Arkansas with a couple of 3-star commitments. Over at Oklahoma, they picked up a commitment from 3-star wide receiver Emmanuel Choice. He's 6'4", 195 out of Lancaster, Texas. So in addition there, over at Florida, they are adding to their room. They got a long way to go, but they picked up a key piece on Friday night. Tight end Micah Jones, a tight end from the state of Mississippi, committed to the Florida Gators over the likes of Ole Miss, LSU, Arkansas. He's 6'5", 245 pounds from Madison, Mississippi. Rated a 3-star recruit, the number 28 tight end in the class of 2025. But he's just the 6th hard commit for Florida at this point. And man, they got some good players, but they're a little slow to get going building this class. And you listen to our recruiting insider Brian Smith last week. He said a big part of that is Billy Napier being on the proverbial hot seat, kind of scaring some kids off. Don't know if they want to commit to a coach that might not be there next year. But nonetheless, big time pickup there for Florida. Over at Alabama, their quarterback commit Keelan Russell, who they flipped a couple weeks ago from SMU. He was named MVP of the Elite 11 finals the end of last week. He was competing along with other elite high school quarterbacks in the class of 2025. And prior to Russell winning that, Alabama had not had an Elite 11 finals MVP since Tua earned the honor back in 2016. But Russell announced his intentions back on June 4th to play for the Tide from Duncanville, Texas. He's the number 38 overall player, number 6 quarterback in the country for the class of 2025. And he'll join a quarterback room in Alabama that includes Austin Mack, Ty Simpson, Jalen Milroe. We'll see if Milroe, if he has a great year, go pro and off and running. But there is a world where Jalen Milroe has a pretty good year and maybe wants to come back for one more season in Alabama. We'll see if that happens. But a lot of people predicting that Milroe will have a big year in the SEC and he'll be off to the next level. We shall see. But there you have it. There's a lot of stuff going on in the recruiting world and continues to go on. And I'm sure we'll have more and more commitments. We'll have Brian Smith on again, too, to do a more comprehensive look around the SEC. Had some Oklahoma and Missouri fans and others saying, last week in our recruiting roundup with him, we just, it's a 30-minute show. So we don't have time to hit on all 16 teams when it comes to recruiting. And some schools we're just not going to hit every week. So next time we have Brian on, I made sure we'll flip back and touch on the schools that we didn't touch on this last go-round. All right, when we return here on Locked On SEC, we got a winner-take-all in the College World Series tonight. It's exciting. Another SEC national champion will be crowned. Will be the Vols. Will be the Aggies. We'll discuss that coming right next right here on Locked On SEC. But first, I want to remind you guys, it is passion. It is drive. It is a whole lot of things. Patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, whatever it is, whether you're in the speed, power, or style, eBay Motors, they got you covered with all the parts you need for your car. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with that eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it is easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. It's ebaymotors.com. Go check them out today. All right, one more segment here on Locked On SEC. And hey, you guys know, hopefully you were watching a college baseball over the weekend. Really, really good action in the College World Series out in Omaha as we got the finals going on. And it is Texas A&M versus Tennessee. And on Sunday, well, rewind. On Saturday, Texas A&M defeated Tennessee 9-5 in game one. On Sunday, we had game two. The Vols bounced back and won 4-1 in game two. But Jace Lavalette of Texas A&M, he had a solo home run in the first inning. He's a guy who's dealing with injuries in recent weeks. He jumped out, like I said, gave the Aggies that 1-0 lead, and they held that lead for the majority of the game. But as the game went along, he just kept saying, Tennessee's too good. They're not going to lose this thing 1-0, right? And they did not. Freshman left-handed pitcher Caden Wilson allowed a 2-run home run to Dylan Dreiling of Tennessee at the top of the seventh. And then Tennessee launched another 2-run home run by Cal Stark in the eighth, which ultimately gave Tennessee the 4-1 win. So big move there. So somebody said, who knew Stark failing to get a bunt down and then grounding into an inning double play in his previous at-bats would turn the game around. And that he did with a big home run. But, Texas A&M, a school that's been playing baseball since the 19th century. They had never played the men's College World Series finals until this year. And the Aggies were 1 win away. I mean, they had runners on base in the ninth. And, are they going to get this done? But Tennessee Volunteers did not let that happen. And so Tennessee, another team, been playing baseball since the 19th century. They need just one more win, secure their first baseball national championship after finishing as runner-ups back in 1951. But they've now forced a Game 3 clutch late inning hitting, propelling them to their first College World Series finals win in program history, and a winner-take-all game tonight. Game 3, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central on ESPN. Our buddy Ryan McGee from Marty McGee, he tweeted this out. He said, in case you were wondering, since the Men's College World Series went to the current best of 3 title series, the team that won game 1 has taken 13 of 20 titles. So basically 2/3 of the time, he said. So look, tonight I feel like you can't really put stock in either one. I mean, Tennessee's super talented. They're loaded with talent. A&M's got some great arms. They've had some great pitching all throughout. So, in my opinion, it's really anybody can win this thing tonight. I mean, I would think probably Tennessee is a slight betting favorite. Having a little bit of momentum from Sunday's game and being the, one of the odds favorites early. But I think there was one point A&M was the odds favorite coming in Omaha. So, I don't know. This one will be very interesting to see who takes this one. But either way, it's a good one for the SEC because it means another win for another championship in the trophy case for Greg Sankey and the Southeastern Conference. But, obviously if you're a Vol fan, man, you've been waiting for something like this. If you're an A&M fan, you've been waiting a long time for this. So I think the note was since the 1930s, they haven't won a men's championship in one of the major sports, obviously like football, basketball, baseball. So this would be big for, A&M to have some bragging rights with big brother, little brother Texas Longhorns come into the SEC, it would be nice for them to turn to them and go, hey, we just won a national championship and something. So we'll see. Best of luck to both sides, Vols and Aggies tonight. We'll talk about it throughout the week, whoever wins. Hey, one more quick baseball note here on the SEC side of things. Congrats go out to Georgia's Charlie Condon. He was named the winner of the 2024 Golden Spikes Award on Saturday night. He beat out Oregon State's Travis Bazzana and Arkansas's Hagen Smith. He's the second consecutive SEC player to win the honor. LSU's Dylan Cruz won it last year. But Condon is Georgia's first ever winner of the prestigious Golden Spikes Award, which first started getting handed out in 1978. The award's been given to numerous future big leaguers over the years, like Adley Rutschman, Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, Tim Lincecum, David Price. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Buster Posey. But Condon led Georgia to a successful season in the SEC. They hosted a super regional, and he batted .433 with 37 home runs and 78 runs batted in. He had an OPS of 1565 in 60 games played for the Bulldogs. Just mind-boggling numbers he had. Led the NCAA batting average, home runs, and slugging percentage throughout the season. Became the first ever SEC player to slug over 1,000 and set a BB Core era record with his 37 home runs. And he's expected to be in the mix high in this year's MLB draft. So Bazzana and Smith are also expected to be high, as is Florida's Jack Caglione. So a lot of familiar names at the top of this list and a lot of big names that will hear their names called early. So we will see where they end up going. By the way, the MLB draft got pushed back this year. A lot of players were saying, we don't like playing postseason games and finding out in the middle of the game that we just got drafted. So they moved all that back. So it will happen. I want to say maybe it's All-Star break week. I want to say it's like those first couple of days. So, by the way, a lot of the SEC coaches going to have some work to do. They got to find out who of their signing class is coming. Whether you're LSU, Florida, whoever, you got some top signees. They might hear their names called in first or second round, get a big signing bonus, and may never make it to campus. Happens every year. So we'll see what happens on that front. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out. And hey, for your second listen, check out Locked On, as long as the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, available on the Amazon Fire TV free TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today, all the top sports stories of the day. Go check them out wherever you find your podcast. I'm Chris Cordy. It's been Locked On SEC. Come on back throughout this week. We will be recapping all the action right here, Locked On SEC.